everyone, it's Shannon here for Hero Arts. In today's video, we are going to play with the rotating stencils included in the April My Monthly Hero Kit. I'm going to show you different combinations and different ways to ink blend over them to create some backgrounds. Let's start out by taking a quick look at the April 2021 My Monthly Hero Kit. Included is this awesome stamp set. The images in this set have a very graphic or geometric look. You also get the matching dies, and then you get 3 stencils included in the kit as well. I kind of call the first stencil here the quarter circle stencil. This one has triangles, circles, and squares, and then you also get this kind of line stencil, and those stencils are all intended to be rotated and combined. You also get 3 little inks, tangerine, raspberry jam, and grape juice. I'm going to start with this stencil here, the one I'm calling circle square triangle stencil. I'm going to place it over a panel of Dove White cardstock. This panel is 4 by 5.5, so a little bit smaller than an A2 panel, and I'm simply going to ink blend over this stencil with the tangerine ink. And again, this ink is included in your kit, so just quickly ink blend over that. Once I finish, I'll then remove my stencil. I do have it taped in place with a couple pieces of micro pour tape. Then I will grab the next stencil. I'm going to grab this quarter circle stencil, place it over where, kind of line it up a little bit with where I ink blended previously, so kind of complete some of those images, and then I will ink blend over this stencil with raspberry jam shadow ink. Quickly ink blend over that, really simple, not doing anything complicated, kind of keeping it nice and flat. You can see when you ink blend over the tangerine, you kind of create this really almost red corally color by layering those 2 inks. I love layering ink. I'm going to quickly clean this stencil with my damp chamois. I like to place a towel underneath because that makes sure that none of the ink kind of goes under the stencil, and then you get ink on the underside of the stencil. So now now that I've cleaned the stencil, I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees, just a 90-degree turn. You can see here now we kind of filled in some more of the open areas of our panel, and I'm going to ink blend this with our final color, which is grape juice, also included in the kit. So quickly ink blend, again nice and flat, not doing anything fancy here with my ink blending. And you also can see kind of a new color kind of appearing where the ink layers, or where this grape juice layers over some of the other ink colors, which I just love. I love layering inks. So here's that finished panel. I really love that way that looks. It has a very kind of mid-century modern look to it. We're now going to move on to our second background. Here I'm going to ink blend over an A2 top folding white card base. And again, I'm starting with that triangle circle stencil, and also starting with tangerine, but this time I'm going to ink blend a little bit differently. I'm going to ink blend a gradation. So after I ink blended at an angle the tangerine, I then moved on to the raspberry jam, overlapping a little bit of that tangerine to get some of that nice layered color, and then I finished up with a little bit of that grape juice. Now I did keep it kind of light here because I'm going to ink blend this a second time. So I'm going to quickly clean my stencil to remove that ink on there, and then I am also going to rotate this stencil 90 degrees just like I did before with the quarter circle stencil on the last background. What's really cool about this stencil is when you rotate it 90 degrees, you actually complete kind of some of the half circles. I love that. I just think that's so cool. And this time we're also going to ink blend a gradation with the same colors, but I'm going to ink blend a little bit more heavy-handedly this time. This is going to create more depth, and we're going to get more interest with our background. So again, creating a nice gradation with those 3 colors, but just more heavy-handed with my ink blending, so the colors are darker and bolder. So now that I've finished that, we're going to do the big reveal, pull that back, and look at how gorgeous that is. I love the way this looks, and I love that depth that we get by doing it first in light, kind of a light ink blending, and then darker. So now I'm going to move on to my images. I'm going to stamp the cat and the fox image on some Dove White cardstock in INTENS-ified Black Ink. Now these are really solid stamps, or really solid images, so don't be surprised if you have to kind of stamp it a couple of times to get nice, clean, crisp coverage. So after I stamped them, I went ahead and die cut them out. Now I'm going to move on to stamping my sentiment. I have a scrap of pitch black cardstock here in my MISTI. I am going to do some heat embossing, so I applied some anti-static powder first, and now I'm going to ink up my sentiments in Embossing and Watermark Heroes Art ink. Then I'll dip it into some white detail embossing powder and then heat set it with my heat gun. I went ahead and trimmed those down to create strips, and now we have basically all our components ready to kind of complete our cards. I'm going to start by adhering my first panel that I ink blended with some liquid glue to the front of an A2 top folding white card base. After I've stuck that down, then I'm going to grab some vellum. I did trim these down to 2 small panels to kind of fit appropriately behind my my images and my sentiment. I'm going to start by adhering the vellum directly to my card front. If you do this at home, I would recommend actually adhering it to adhering your images first to the vellum and then adhering the vellum to your card front, because then you'll know exactly where to place the glue, which has got me into a little bit of trouble here on this second card. So again, I added some vellum to the center, kind of where I thought my images would cover that glue, but I didn't get it quite right, so I had to really kind of move the fox here a little bit more to the right than I really would have normally wanted it, just to cover up that glue. So at home, definitely stick your sentiment and images down first to the vellum, then add your glue, and you'll know exactly where to add your glue behind those images so that they cover that glue. And that actually completes the card. So I'll hold them up to the camera so I hope we can get a good look at our beautiful ink blending. Love that first one. Love the very simple kind of mid-century modern look. Here's our second one with the gradation. Really love the depth we got here with that. And these cards were so fun, and I really just only scratched the surface here of all the different designs and patterns you can create. That's why I love stencils. There's so much you can do with them. I hope you guys enjoyed today's cards and video. If you have any questions about the products I used, please check out the links below and the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.